Hey everyone, I'd like to welcome my great friend Ant Meakin from Alvaston Development Football, ADF, to the Get Scouted show. We've known each other for a couple of years and share a passion for developing players with excellent technical ability. ADF provide one-to-one and group coaching for footballers of all ages, and through his coaching methods, Ant has successfully placed over 40 players with professional academies. He also has people travelling from as far as Birmingham to experience his coaching methods. So you can see he's a sought-after guy. Hey, Ant, welcome to Get Scouted.
Morning, Simon. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Just doing a bit of homeschooling with the kids this morning. So
I know that's a challenge for all of us, isn't it? The home learning that's going on at the minute.
That's right. Yeah.
So I guess the first thing that I'd like to understand is your journey, because you're not just a coach, you're also a scout as well. So if you could just help everyone understand your journey in football, that'd be fantastic.
Well, my journey started. Most people start, I guess, starting having two boys. Originally starting playing football. You get asked, there's no manager. Will you run the side? And you get roped into that reluctantly, but then end up absolutely loving it. And so from an early age, I was just a dad that just volunteered to go and take the team. Over a few weeks, I realised that I absolutely loved it, and it was what I loved doing. Love coaching the kids, love seeing them smile. Just being part of that team ethic. That for me, it's not just about coaching; it's about life learning skills for me. And for me, having that bond with kids where they turn up, they're all in it together, kind of thing, and have that camaraderie. Pretty soon I'd got a great team of kids together, just great kids. Over time we developed into a very good footballing side. We won 5 cups, 4 or 5 leagues in a time in the junior section, and then in the City League we went and won a lot more. It was around when I was under 15s. I had a few very, very strong players, and so what I did is I started networking with scouts to try and get these kids to a better place. So it's, because obviously being a grassroots coach, I understand the facilities and things at academies. Some of the coaching at academies is better than what I could give them, rather than on a Sunday morning down the race course, so to speak. And that's no disrespect to anyone that does that. It's just, if you can be playing at other places like Man City or Liverpool or Man United, it's a big difference, So I started to get scouts to come down. I soon got to know a scout called Mark really well, and we'd just talk, and I'd say, I think this player is really good, you need to come and watch him, and just used to give him bits and bobs. So for me, looking back now, I look at the team I had, and I had an exceptional team of boys. They were very, very good, and as a team, I know that team was about under 9s. I brought someone in to help me do it.
Right.
Now, I brought him in was because he was an ex-professional footballer. So he was one of the dads. So it was a no-brainer for me. I thought, we'll bring him in. We learn, the good things he's learned at professional clubs, because he'd played at professional clubs. As soon as he come in, he said to me, what we're going to do is we're going to play away, and it may be, might take time, and we will make mistakes. However, if I'm coming in, this is what we're going to do. To begin with, I was a little bit not sure about this. Within a year of playing with bravery, I'd say. And for me, bravery, people talk about bravery a lot. Bravery isn't someone that goes and smashes a player. Bravery is, for me, someone that's showing for the ball when their player is in a situation and they want the ball. Bravery is getting the ball and actually running at a player and looking to beat him rather than just passing it off and passing the responsibility over.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, we soon, within a year, had the team passing brilliantly, and you know, they went on to achieve real good things, and you know, really proud of what they achieved. Looking at it now, the team development was fantastic, and I've spoke to Mecca about this since. However, looking now, as a coach now, I believe that we put team development before personal development.
Right.
So I see it totally different now.
Yeah.
Where I've gone, I was playing football for Alvaston United, as you know.
Yeah.
Playing in the boys' league a year up, both of them. And for me, I now challenge them. I will say to them, right, okay, get the ball. Okay, today I want to see you do 2 double step overs and a Maradona and a chop. So
yeah.
I set these things where before I would have been terrified of my 2 boys, Joe and Ben, to lose the ball doing this. And then look back at it now, and I think a lot of it would be down to how parents around me would perceive me allowing my child. So I look at it now, and me and Mecca, you know, we agree with this. Our team development was fantastic. However, we were very mechanical in the way we were pass, look after the ball, which I think is great. You know, looking after the ball is great. But now what I encourage my players, I would be encouraging them to try and be personally as good as they can be. And even if it meant not getting the results that me and Mecca got with the team before,
I
feel that it will bode my girls better to be better footballers than what it was if I had them mechanically passing like before. So for me, it's a fine line, because if it's 1-0 in a cup final, you know, you don't want someone doing a Maradona with a minute to go, do you? It's bad. But for me, it's about, you have to encourage your child to be in a position where they're going to be brave when they're one-on-one players. You have to challenge them and say, well, don't just pass it. Look to run at them, look to beat them. You know, the best players in the world, Messi, Ronaldo, they all have done this by failing. You've got to fail. You know, there's the amount of times that Ronaldo and Messi would have done it in grassroots and not got the end product what they wanted, but they kept on doing it, and they kept doing it, and they kept doing it, and you know, they ended up being the brilliance they are just through originally failing. You know, so for me, I look at it totally different. My teams are on now at Alvaston United. I'm more on player development than team development. I would take my players being better players by the time they're 16 and not winning anything than having a team that are great and they all go their own way at 16. Some will carry on, some will stop. You know, that's what happens in life. But the trophies now, I would swap them.
Wow.
I'd swap for one of them lads being a pro, or one of them lads paid, you know, £1,000 a week playing at a real good level. And look, there's some good lads and they still might go on to achieve that, hopefully, you know. But I look at it now, and I do think how we do it now, for me, it's helping the players. It's not helping me as a manager, because it was great managing a team that won every week. And you know, as a manager, I was absolutely thrilled to bits. You know, it's, you want to go out and win things. You do want to go out and win things. That's the nature of people. You want to be the best.
Yeah. So how did you? Sorry, mate. How did you then get sort of into the sort of scouting element? Because you've touched on, obviously, you went out and found some scouts. How did that lead to your journey in scouting?
Well, what happened is basically I went into Derby County, and it was just through talking to Mark, a scout that used to come down, and I used to tell him if there's a couple of players that were ready in my team, or, you know, kind of like just doing a bit of spotting for him. And that led to me going into Derby and having an interview, and actually going in on a voluntary basis. So, you know, all scouts start on voluntary. absolutely loved it. It's my, Derby County was my club, and for me to be working from a club voluntary to begin with was just, it was kind of like a dream in your own way. You're working for your own football club. Do you know what I mean?
The kid in a sweet shop.
And you can flash your badge, and walk in. And so I started voluntary. Within a year, I'd done really, really well. Not because of anything other than working hard, learning the levels, going in, learning. Because, look, let's face it, when it comes to it, it's not that hard to spot who a good player is.
Yeah.
The reality is, most people can spot a good player. There's no secret to me doing well other than being out there and working hard. The first thing I did is learn the levels. So I was down Derby 3 times a week, learning the levels, because I wanted to know where development was, where shadow squad was, where the academy was, So that's the first thing I did. Within a year, I think, or so, I was lead scout in the pre-academy in the Derby area, Nottingham area.
Wow.
And, it was brilliant for me to be able to get children to go in and get these experiences. Now, I know when it comes to scouts and football clubs, there's a lot that's said, a lot that's, a lot that's said about it. Is it right? Are they too young and that? And for me, I just think it depends on what they're being told by the club, but also the parents. Because for me, I believe when children go in and they are as young as 6, we've got some little babies going in at academies. And don't get me wrong, I've took these 6-year-olds in, so I'm not going to stand there and say, oh, it's wrong or it's right. I think it's right if parents support them in the right way. So for me, if a child is going into Derby County or Leicester City or Nottingham Forest, so any of these clubs, Burton, Albion, Chesterfield, it's important that these children aren't going in thinking they're going to become professional footballers. It's important they just enjoy the journey and enjoy the experiences. Because for me, I've had it where both my girls have played in the Derby Girls team and that, and they love them, but they was always told, just enjoy the experiences. Go and play at Sheffield United. Go and play there. We've never talked about being a professional, The statistics are unreal, where the fact that I think it's 150 people make it professional out of 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So
tiny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just not. It's not. It gone by a lottery ticket. That's the reality.
Right.
It's 180 children make it out of 1.5 million.
Yeah.
That many, and it's minimum. But for me, I would never say don't go in and account. If you go in and say to your children, oh look, this is a great experience. Look, you go and get changed in the changing ground, and you get to see some great sights, and it's positive. It's all about just letting a child know that it's a great experience, but it's not going to change their life. Most of them, it won't change. But the difference is, when you've got facilities like that, and when you have got good coaches, there's a lot of great coaches and academies, that they're experiencing this, where on the other hand, a lot of, and I've had it so many times when parents just say to me, I'm coaching, but I'm just a parent, because that's what we do. And that's what I did, It was just, right, we need someone to take the team. Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you kind of have learned as you go along. And, I've had time in football now. So there's a lot that I do totally different to what I did when I was 24, 25. And that's not just...
Sorry, so where did your journey in Derby take you to ultimately? Because I think you moved through the scouting ranks quite quickly at Derby, didn't you?
Yeah, well, basically, I got a very good ratio of players in. I was lead scout. It ended quite abruptly, and never saw it coming. But it did teach me, in football, it can be quite ruthless, you know. And I think sometimes if you have success in football, you know, I know for a fact I wasn't, I didn't part terms with Derby because of my results.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot going on in football, but that's buried. I'm lucky enough now that I'm with one of the best clubs in Europe. You know, they've got a training facility that is unbelievable. So I do believe things happen for a reason, and I'm in a better place now than I ever have been. You know, because being with Leicester City is you know, it's a Premiership club, and for me, I just, you know, for me, I move on and I learn from things, and you don't put yourself in that position again.
Okay. I think, you know, you as you say, you know, you've worked at two massive clubs in the East Midlands. Is there any particular age group you look at for Leicester, or are you covering foundation phase, youth development phase?
To be honest with you, it's covering all ages, but I do find with my one-to-one coaching, and again, when we've done teams before, we had Alvo boys for a little while, me and my brother, and we had a lot of success with them going in academies and doing well against academies. And, you know, when I started doing ADF, which was in 2017, we tend to get a lot of kids, good, decent ability kids that come to us. So I'd say pre-academy, but I have been doing a lot more 15, 16-year-olds coaching late. Yeah. It's right the way through. You know, a great player is a great player. So I probably see more pre-academy and foundation phase at the minute.
Right.
But it, you know, it can be either or either, to be honest with you. So
brilliant. So that's sort of your journey, which has been extensive. I think I'm right in saying you've been in and around football 25 years now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So moving on to ADF now, and I guess what I'd like to understand and help others understand is clearly you're very successful, you know, putting 40 players into academies. You know, there's clearly a very talented coach working with the kids. So I'd like to understand a little bit around how you coach and why you put so much emphasis on individual development.
So for me, again, it's something I've probably learned on the journey. It's every child's different. So I would never stand there and say, okay, you've got to coach a kid like this or like that, because it's the old theory on equality and equity, isn't it? So I'm looking over that fence. I can see we've got little Johnny, and I put one brick under so he can see what I can see. But then there's another kid, and put one brick under him. He doesn't see it, so we have to put two bricks under him.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, a child's view isn't the same as another's view straight away. We have to work and develop them. You know, there's that many children that have come and they'll say, I can't do a step over, I can't do a Maradona. Now, there's two main reasons behind this normally. One's because they don't know how to dribble. Because, and again, let's face it, as a coach going into football, as a dad, I wouldn't have told a kid how to dribble when they were younger. I wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Yeah, do now. I teach them how to, right, how do you dribble? Right, okay, you know, let's use your laces, full-toe dribbling, slow and soft. And, you know, we get all the younger ones doing it. All the younger kids, 5, 6ers at ADF, they all know it word for word. You know, soft, slow, soft, tiny touches. They all repeat it because, again, that Maradona then, or that double step over, becomes so easy because it's soft. It's not running past the feet. They're not going 1,000 miles an hour. And it just simplifies. Sometimes you've got to slow things right down, simplify it, get them to do it. And you can just see then the child grow, you know, the child grows in confidence. So, you know, I've had kids come to me, oh, I can't do this. And you'll say, well, we can't in a minute, but we will do it. And this is so for me, back to Mecca, because I think he was a great influence on my thinking now. And I used to say to him, what was the difference? What set you aside to other people? Why you made a bit of a living out of football? And he always used to say to me, there were better players out there, but I used to get the ball against the wall, and it used to be touch, touch, touch. Then one bounce. And he said, I'll be out there 2 hours a day. So I've got a lot of very good players that play at academies, girls and boys, some brilliant footballers. And what I try and do now is get that repetition in them, where 10, 15 minutes a night on their own back. Because I always say, you can come to me for my one-to-ones and you can learn something. But if you're not doing this at home, it's not really worth the parents' money. Because for me, you've got to follow it up with what you do at home. That 15 minutes a day, you know, that 600 touches, I set them 600 touches, dead easy, inside touch, outside touch, roll over touch. But for me, it's so important that the repetition's done properly.
Yeah.
Because doing it, if I say, here, Simon, there's the ball, I want you to do 600 touches a day, and you're on your phone, toe poking it, and not really.
You've watched me play, haven't you?
I've had the scouts out watching you. But if you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, don't do it. If you're doing it and you want to do it, and your body shape's in the right position, and you're doing that repetition, you know, I've seen it with my own players. The touch and the technique becomes more robotic, where you just know what to do. You know how to spin out. You know how to open your body up. Because again, body position's massive. You know, it's massive. I think I'm a big believer in kick-ups, because people say, well, you don't do kick-ups on the pitch. Why do you do them? But it's touch, it's technique, it's body shape, it's everything you do on a pitch. If that ball comes up to you and you can take it on a sixpence and kill it dead, you're a baller. Do you know what? So I've just recently had a kid, and he was stuck on 18, and he had a bit of a mental block when it comes to 18, because what we all do, and when we're doing anything, when we're driving the car, if we're getting close to someone and we think we're going to hit, we freeze up and we stop, don't we?
Yeah.
So this kid, every time he got 16, 17, 18, and the ball was going, he was getting rigid, he was getting, you know, and he's kept going and he's kept going. And I said to him, let's start doing it in 5. So we start counting 5, right, 1 set of 5, 2 set of 5, 3 set of 5, 4 set of 5. And before you knew it, he smashed it. He's now on 390 something.
Amazing.
Pointed because a car come on the road and he had to stop. He had to stop. You know what I mean? So it's, for me, doing the right things. I've always said hard work beats talent, because I believe it. I've seen it in academies, and don't get me wrong, you can't tell me that Messi and Ronaldo haven't got a God-given talent, because they have. But one thing that's very common is they've worked to get where they've got. If they didn't work, they would be nothing like the players they are. And that's just, you know, there's always 2 things that I always say to my team, and as I'll still say it now, I say it to my kids, there's 2 things in football that you can do and you can make sure it's right. One's having a good attitude.
Yeah.
I will not moan at a player on my pitch for losing the ball and being brave. If they have a bad attitude or they don't work, there's 2 things: work rate, because you can always work hard.
Yeah.
I can make 20 mistakes in a game, but I'd always work hard. You know,
Yeah.
I'd always that pitch and think, well, I was crap today, but I did the best I could, and it wasn't good enough today. But so for me, it's the 2 things with my children playing football, with my team and managers, you know, that I manage. If they don't work hard, I will come down on them, or I might even say, right, if you're not working hard, I'll put so and so on, and they'll work harder. And for me, I just think that an attitude, you know, I believe you're in it together. It's life learning skills, football. You know, I've got such a great relationship with some of the players that have come and played for me and gone. And, you know, for me, I've made some friends for life in football that are friends and that will remain friends, you know, for the rest of the life, because we did things together, you know. We went on trips together to Holland and things like that. And for me, it taught the kids at that age, you know, what they were, 13, 14, you know, how to be around people and that. And
yeah,
for me,
relationship.
yeah, football is a lot more than just kicking a ball around the pitch. It's how to be around teams. You know, it's how to be around. If you're winning comfortably against another team, are you the sort of person that encourages the megs and the things like that? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
for me, I've never been a big believer. Maybe it's my age because I'm old. I'm one of these that at 7 or 8-0 up, you start to get flashy. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, I look at it the other way, and I wouldn't want that on my kids. But
Yeah.
you know, everyone has opinions on football, and for me, I've worked with some great coaches. One thing I'll always say is I know more now than what I did know, because I've been around it more, and I'll continue to get better because I'm still around some great people, and
yeah,
it's looking to learn and never think this is the way, this is how you do it. I've adapted over time. You know, I talk about the teams. I run teams totally different now. And some people will say, why are you allowing them to do that trick there and that? And for me, it's their personal development. It might not come off that time, but
yeah,
you know, and again, let's go back to the scouting. If I'm a scout and let's just say there's a player, let's take my daughter, for example. Yeah. And she's a 7 out of 10. Okay.
yeah,
She's a tidy 7 out of 10. And I go away thinking she's okay. As a scout to watch, and her, if I say to her as a coach, as a parent, right, be brave. When you get on the ball, don't just pass it across and do the easy option. Actually express yourself, run at the player. You
yeah,
know, skills that we've taught you in training, because a common thing is you'll do it in training, you won't do it in the games. And it's so hard to switch it over to do it in the games, because again, and I was one of them coaches, I would be moaning at my lads if they were, you know, doing these expressive things. But now I realise my team development was too much.
yeah,
And so for me now, where I am, and again, I'm not saying this is how you do it. For me, personal development comes before. And so going back to the scouting, I'd want my children to be a 9 out of 10 or a 5.5 or a 6 by just challenging themselves, because I'll always remember the 9 out of 10. I won't remember the 7.
yeah, yeah. You're right. I mean, I think the thing, we have a tendency in the UK, and especially in football, it goes back to what you said. It's about pass, pass, pass. But we're teaching children how to pass. But first, we haven't taught them how to receive. We haven't taught them how to control the ball. And then when they miscontrol it, when they go to pass it, you know, we get onto the player, and then the player goes into fear mode. So going back to your point on bravery, they go into themselves, don't they? And then they don't express themselves. So I guess, just building on what you've talked about, how can we as parents, because I'm a parent, you know, I've got 2 boys, and you've helped me both with Oliver and Marcus. How can we as parents best support our children when they're away from, you know, the coaching environment that you provide?
So for me, looking back, and with Joe and Ben, I made mistakes. I was probably too bothered what other people thought about my children within the team. So for me, I'd say, you know, allow your child to be, you know, really creative and really play for themselves. But when it doesn't come off, we've got to just say, well, it didn't come off.
Yeah.
Try it. Rather than, you know, I've been the other way where, Ben, why have you done this? Joe, why didn't you just pass it? Well, I think that's probably our insecurities as parents or as coaches, because
You're
we're
right. Yeah.
thinking, oh, what's so-and-so thinking about my ball, that there? Do you know what I mean? Where I look at it now, and both my lads would have been better players than what they are. And they're both done well, and they're both good lads. But now I look at it, and McGill's will be better than how I coach the lads, if that makes sense, because their personal development now is coming first, you know. And at the end of the day, you play in a league, you win leagues, you win cups. Sometimes if you're lucky enough to, they're all in a loft. You know, my kids don't have trophies on the sides. And if for that one player, it works out of, let's say, 1,000, and that personal development's been put before the team development, I just feel it's been worth it, because we're talking about professional football and things like that. Reality is, if you can go out and get paid a few quid for something you love doing,
yeah,
it's brilliant, you know. And for me, there's a lot of kids out. I see a lot of talented kids, and they could be pushing for 100, 200, 300, 400 quid a week for something they love doing, you know, for the hobby. So I think it's important when we look at development, we don't just talk about let's develop a professional, let's develop a kid that can play to the best of their ability. You know, again, we talk about kids coaching. In my mind, then just come Jay and Amber, two fantastic kids, come to me, and I'll be honest with you, and the dad would be, you know, totally honest. He was a realist. They couldn't dribble. They didn't know how to play. Amber had never played football. She got to this point, Amber, where within a year, and again, just the repetition,
yeah,
the touches, the toe taps, the step overs, the penguins, just keep doing that. You know, within a year, she was playing in my all girls team, you know, and she was making massive strides. Jay was a very introvert child. You know, didn't say anything, wouldn't talk to me. In the end, he was coming telling me, "Oh, I've scored a goal in the top corner in grassroots." And for me, that is why I'm a coach as well, you know, because the grassroots side is so rewarding. And Amber and Jay, will I make them into professional footballers? No. Can I help them to achieve what they want to achieve? Yeah, I can help them. But look, there's lots of great coaches out there. You know, there's lots of great soccer schools, and I'm very open to looking what people do and trying to take it on board, you know, certain things and that, because I just believe that is what makes us better people, better coaches. You know, it's we're learning everything, you know, and now I feel I'm in a lot better place than I was 10, 15 years ago. But maybe that's just experience kicking in now.
I think you're right. No, they do say, don't they, that experience is the greatest teacher. And just touching on the point that you've made, you know, it's individuals that get into first teams. Teams don't get into first teams, do they? So
Exactly.
by focusing on the individual and making the individual the best they can be, whatever level that they're at, you know, just reflecting on what you said, that's what success should look like, shouldn't it?
Without a doubt. And I think just going back to our own child, so let's concentrate back on our own child. The stat is you get 60 to 90 seconds on the ball in an 11-a-side game.
Yeah.
So in that time, and you're just passing that ball on, that's cut down straight away, isn't it? If you actually stay on that ball and actually want to do something with the ball and express yourself, you're making more time for yourself on the ball. And it's just got a bit of mentality. If I'm only going to get 60 to 90 seconds on that ball, I'm going to stay on it as much as I can. And still make good decisions, you know. I'm not saying just hold the ball and run with it and never pass. Still make good decisions. Beat a player. If there's a player in a better position, then lay it off. But you've still managed to beat that player as well. So I'm not saying run with your head down and just run. But what I'm saying is be brave and be the best player you can be.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. So just final question then. What's the one thing, what's sort of the final thought that you would leave us with? So if we take nothing else out of this conversation, which I think has been amazing, I've really, really enjoyed it. What would be the one thing that we should take out of this conversation?
I think looking back for me, let's not let our insecurities as parents weigh on our children. Right. And what that is, there was a lot of decisions I made with my boys where I was thinking, what do they think of me as a coach? What do they think of me as a parent? But really, you know, I was thinking about me and not the child. For me, the child has to grow. The only way a child can grow is by making mistakes. And for me, you know, like I say, there's kids that come to me and say, I can't do this, can't do this. It's a mentality thing. Once we keep trying, practice, it comes, you know, and it kind of comes naturally. Repetition, doing the right things. Again, repetition, but do it well. You know, if I give a kid 600 and they're not bothered, not kicking it properly, just stood there, toe poking it, it's not going to do any good. You have to do it well. We've got to want to do it, and we've got to put that work in. But yeah, for me, I think definitely let your kids express themselves, and they will make mistakes. But two key things for me: if their attitude's good and they work hard for the team, everything else just takes care of itself, you know.
That was absolutely amazing. Really enjoyed that. We do speak frequently. In fact, we speak daily at the moment, don't we? Because we've got so much on. But just a massive thank you for your time, mate. It was just an amazing insight into your journey and why you do what you do and how you've become so successful. So massive thank you, mate. And I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.